Beautiful and hello, doctors, teachers, professors, and everybody here in this conference. I am glad to join CICME 2020 to share my research on the topic of the use of GeoGebra application in teaching and learning mathematics in high school. Let's move on to my research. Since it is now the industrial revolution of technology 4.0, it should be helpful to use technology in the classroom. And as well as that, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport also set us some main area in 2014 and as well as in 2018 on the use of technology in the classroom and also prioritize to the use of open software in teaching and learning. By that, my research objective is to synthesize how GeoGebra contribute in teaching and learning mathematics by reviewing their benefits and barriers in using this software in the classroom. In order to answer the research objective, I have come up with two research questions. The first one is, what are the benefits and the barriers in using GeoGebra? And the second one, what are and how are the contributions of this software in mathematics classroom? Within that research, I have to do some methodology, which is synthesize some document from the research page, Ringer, academia.com, and Google Scholars. By researching on that, I use key terms such as GeoGebra, benefit and barrier of GeoGebra, technology, barriers, and so on. By that, I have come up with the crucial 40 sources that is usable in my research. And most of those research are from Malaysia, Turkey, Nigeria, and other developed and developing countries. By doing this research, the researcher along the way also explored the GeoGebra application version number 6. And at last, the researcher used semantic analysis in order to come up with the 3 headings below. The first one is the benefit in applying the software. The second one is the barriers. And the last one is contribution in mathematics lesson. Okay, let's move on to the finding of this research. Within this finding, the benefit of using GeoGebra is to the teachers is the new instructional method. It means that the teacher can use GeoGebra as a new method or new strategy in order to explain the student to get more instructional method. The teacher can also create resources in GeoGebra platform and they can use online and also offline. Within that resource, the teacher not only create by their own, they can share with the others as well. The last point for the benefit of the teachers is the professional development. In the professional development, the teachers can learn more on the GeoGebra application. They can learn more on mathematics concept by using the graphing. It is because in the graphing, they have hidden 100 words that they can use only the graph. They can explain more to the student. So the professional development is enhanced. And it also benefits to the student. To the student, when student learning by using the GeoGebra, they are more active, they are more motivated, and their cognitive development also improve. They are more active because when they use GeoGebra, they can play with the GeoGebra by moving the slider when the teacher creates the slider for them. The student also motivated because when they move the slider, they can see the process or the step of the mathematics concept. When they understand the mathematics concept or the mathematics process, they are more motivated. And another point is cognitive development. When they see the pictures, they can visualize the concept of mathematics. So their cognitive development also improve because they can transition from the graphing to the concept. In this point, for the cognitive development, it also helps for the underachiever learners. Because in underachiever learner, sometimes they are difficult in order to calculate or figure out the object that they cannot visualize. But when they can visualize the object, they get more understanding of the concept. It is the benefit for the student and as well as for the teachers. Let's move on to its barrier. In using or applying GeoGebra in the classroom, they will have some barriers for the teachers because some teachers have very limited capacity in order to give the instruction to the student. When the teacher gives an instruction to the student will know what to do. But if the teacher do not know how to instruct a student in the GeoGebra platform, it will be the issue. Because in GeoGebra platform, when we want the student to do something, it needs steps. Doing first and second or next. If the student just reverse it or switch from one step to the third step, for example, it will be the problem. So the teacher needs to be more careful with the instruction. Another point for the barrier is the teacher understanding of the concept. Some teachers do not have idea what are the concepts that usable for the platform, for the GeoGebra. Some teachers just mentioned that, oh, maybe GeoGebra can use all the concept of mathematics, but actually some concept is usable for GeoGebra. So some teachers do not have the idea of that. So if they just use it all the time without any understanding whether it's usable or not, it will be the case of in the classroom. Another point is the non-commitment teachers. Non-commitment teachers here, it means that the teacher do not have motivation in learning the new concept, mean the new application or the new platform or the new software. When the teacher do not have the idea or the motivation to learn new things, they just stay in their comfort zone. They do not want to improve. So during their class, maybe they do not use the application, they just use the paper and pen method, or they just use how to calculate things, or they just use the practice one that let the student just doing the exercise. So we cannot apply GeoGebra in that kind of teachers. Another barrier is for the student. Some students do not have the prior knowledge of the application. If the student do not have the prior knowledge of the application, if the teacher just apply it without understanding that whether the student have the prior knowledge or not, the concept of mathematics will be the problem or will be the difficulty for the student because they are new to the concept and they are also new to the application. If the teacher just rushes up with the application and forget that the student do not have the idea of that, they will not get the idea of the concept that the teacher are teaching. The second point is the student distraction. Actually, when we use GeoGebra, we can apply it in whether it is on the phone or on the computer. So when the student apply it during the classroom and it is out of the teacher's things, the student will use another application during the class. For example, they can use Facebook, they can use YouTube, for example, without the teacher knowledge. So the student will get distraction from the class. So they're also the problem for the class as well. There are also other barriers for the student and as well for the teachers. The first one is the material applicability. In the rural area, they do not have the material applied for the technology because they are so poor. So when we want to apply the technology in the classroom, it will be the issue for the rural area. Another point is the time constraint in preparation. Time constraint in preparation is a time constraint for the teacher. Some teachers do not have enough time in order to prepare resources for the student. And sometimes the curriculum also gives short or limited time for this kind of lesson. For example, this kind of lesson is only for 4 hours. But if when we apply the technology in the classroom, this lesson will use, for example, 8 hours. So if we prolong the lesson, it also prolong the curriculum. It's also the problem. So the time constraint in preparation and time constraint in teaching is also the issue. All right, so here's the example that we can apply the technology or apply GeoGebra in the classroom in Cambodia. So we can use application in trigonometry function. We can assist this GeoGebra with the paper and pen method. In this one, the teachers let the student draw the square, the scrap of square on the paper first, and then draw the scrap of polygon on the paper, and then try to draw the scrap of circle on the papers. And then the teacher just apply the trigonometry function in GeoGebra and let the student see where the angle is moved to which point that make the graph is moving to another point. The teacher or the student just move the slider, they will get the points. Yeah. It also can calculate or figure out the area and the volume of the object. We just drawing the pictures of the sun function, and then we can figure out the volume and also the area of the object. We can also use GeoGebra in integer addition. By moving the slider here, the student can see when we move the bunny, so the addition will change. And the answer also changes. When we move the bunny to the left side, so the answer and the addition also change. So how can it change in that application? So the student can visualize the answer and then do their practice. In conclusion, as I have mentioned about the benefit and also its barrier, we can scale that it is more benefit than barriers. So I encourage teachers to use this platform or this application in the classroom to assist their paper and pen method. And also, some barrier in this part can be solved. How can it be solved? We can use the lesson guide example and also classroom resources of GeoGebra on web. We also can have our determination. We believe that we can learn new things. We believe that we can come out of our comfort zone and learn the new thing to fit in with the industrial revolution. It also has some stakeholder engagement in order to apply it in the classroom. All right, let's say stakeholder engagement. Who is the stakeholder engagement? It's the ministry, the student's parent, the principal, and also the curriculum designer. For the curriculum designer, if they can design the textbook with the application you say in that, it will give the teachers more idea how to apply it and what kind of application should they use in the class. For the ministry, they should train the teacher on the important or the usable application that the teacher can apply in the classroom. And also for the NGS, I have stakeholder in education. They should help the rural area who have capacity, do not have enough capacity in order to buy the material to apply the application in the classroom. They should have it there. So last but not least, here is my reference. And thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Leangsim. Yeah, so far we have got some questions from our participant in hands in the chat box. So allow me to read the question for you. So I think the first question should be from Sun Vachana. Maybe you have answered some part of the question already, but it's just would like you, to mention some more aspects in terms of the question. So the first question, what are the challenges of using GeoGebra for your teaching in math? And just one of my two questions. Number two, could you please provide the pros and cons of GeoGebra software and application of it? Thank you.
All right. So with the first question is that what is the challenges of using the application? Actually, when we use this application, the problem is, as I have mentioned in the barrier, is the first one is for the teacher and the second one is for the student. But when you mentioned about the challenges for teaching mathematics, it's, let's say, only the teachers. So the first thing is teacher instruction. If this, it also connected to the second question related to pros and cons, because when the teachers do not have the idea of the technology or the way to use GeoGebra, because in GeoGebra you need the step. For example, when you want to graph some, let's say the equation, if you just jump out from one step to the second step or jump out to the third one, so you will not get the idea of graph, or you cannot graph the equation. And also for the teacher instruction, when the teacher gets no idea of the GeoGebra, the instruction will be chaos, or they cannot give the easy instruction to the student. And the second one is the teacher understanding of the concept. If the teacher just have the idea that whatever concept or whatever content of the mathematics, they can apply GeoGebra, it will be the problem, because some concept, we just give we can say just the paper and pen method, the student can understand it well. So why do we need to use the GeoGebra platform? Another one is the non-commitment teacher. It's just like the teacher that do not want to learn new thing, so they just apply the paper and pen method. When they use the GeoGebra method, it will be more easier for the student to see the concept of the mathematics, right?
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer to the question. And here we got another question from Mr. Chiang Channa. So this should be the last question for you today. So because we have only one last minute to answer the question. So GeoGebra application is a software. So how it can help students in rural areas or remote areas in Cambodia, since most of students at those places have no ICT device.
Actually, we can help in two ways. The first way is the student can share the device with one another, because in this platform, or we can say this software, the student can use whether online and also offline. So they can share the device together. This is the first way. The second way is the sponsor from the stakeholder. The stakeholder here mean the student parents, the NGO, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport, and others sponsor who can help with the device. So when let's say the NGO can help with the device in that rural area, so the student can use it within the library or within the school.
Yeah, thank you so much for your explanation and answer to the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure that this presentation as well as question and answer would be useful for the audience as well as the question to the answer. So based on time constraint, we could not answer all the questions that have been dropped in the chat box. So let us sorry for that. And the rest question would be answered in the forum. So thank you very much, Ms. Leangsim, for your presentation.
Thank you.
As well as sharing with us. So here come to the end of the presentation. So
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hope to see you next time.